first thing I did was trace these fuel hoses and identify which one to supply, return, in the vent, although I knew the vent by heart, but just want to make sure I didn't screw that up, because the supply is the one I'm most worried about getting air bubbles in. So at a high level, that's my concern. Shit had to come out of this cabinet here so I can go all the way down. Yeah, so that was the hoses we're going after. The one with the red stripes is coming out, and I had to empty this locker as well. So if that doesn't give me motivation to finish, I don't know what does. I disconnected the supply and the return lines and pulled them back just to give physical access to the nozzle on the top of the tank. This is a vent line, already changed it out and rerouted it, so that's kind of complete. It might get in the way. On this side, I have the old hose physically removed. It's just sitting there, just sitting here, and I'm going to pull it out my way, this way, and to that end I don't want any fuel to spill, because we know there's fuel in the bottom. You can see this end is already disconnected from the nozzle on the deck. And what we do know, because it's mathematically impossible for it not to be true, that because this hose passes under that 2x4 down there, that's a loop seal, and that means any fuel that's added to the tank has gone down to the bottom, and it gets pushed forward uphill into the tank as long as fuel's coming behind it. But when you're done fueling, a certain amount of fuel, whatever sits in the bottom of this hose, is going to still be sitting there, and I really don't want that to hit my bilge. So I'm trying to be careful. I've got a giant cork, a wooden plug, or a bung, or DC plug, damage control plug. So I've got this end plugged pretty tightly, and so now I'm just going to very carefully try to pull that hose down and pull from this end, and just little by little inch it out, and try to just little by little try to inch it out this opening here, and get it the hell out of here, and then send the new hose in the opposite way. Send the new hose in through here, route it correctly through the correct holes and up to the deck fitting, and then cut it to length and stick it on the tank. And I have about 2 hours of daylight left, so we'll see if I maybe started this job a little too late. Okay, I'm sweating out. The hose is about 10% out. You can see in the upper cabinet, that's where the top of the hose is right now. It's come down about a foot, third of a meter, but it is moving. It's not hung up anywhere. It's just been in place for 45 years, and she doesn't want to bend. Got it. Okay, this is the end that was connected to the tank. This is the end that was connected to the deck fitting, and that's the end I corked because it came out last. And there ought to be fuel in here, but I'm keeping both ends elevated to the same height, making it impossible to fuel or leak. But as I look closely at this hose, even though that was a 30-minute wrestling match, it's pretty badly dried and cracked, so glad I did this. Now let's carefully dispose of the fuel. What comes out into my waste oil bucket? I think something has to come out. I don't hear anything sloshing around in there. Yes, I did hear something. So the key is, it's all about elevation, right, boys? Just gotta wrestle this damn thing so there's no roots. Okay, so that's the new fill hose. That's the vent hose, correctly sloped. The vent hose is not new. I reused the existing hose only because I couldn't find a replacement here. But you can see now I've got them properly sloped, and they're now sloped above the infamous 2x4 down there. You can see how they're sloped above the 2x4, and they go up behind the drawers through the lower bowels of this cabinet, and then up the back corner where they had before. That's the same exact route path. The only thing I need to do is kind of tidy up those the red and black wires hanging down, and then restore the cabinet because I don't like it when I'm a sloppy old mess and all my junk is pulled out. But it's time. There's enough time to take a break, I think, and clean the floor, and then we'll restow. And that job comes off the list. So I'm glad to have that job done. Kind of one of those jobs that I really wasn't too keen on doing, just because I thought, boy, this could turn south and could go badly. But it didn't. It went just perfectly. So I thought it'd be hard to get the old fill hose off of the nipples, and it really wasn't. They came off, using normal means, I would say. Looking at the fuel hoses, this is a line that comes from the top of the fuel filter, and this is a return line that goes back to the tank. And visually, it looks okay in many spots. But when I was really getting close and I realized how inflexible it was, you can see that it's got some pretty bad crackage. That's what's got me nervous, and that's what's got me replacing both the return line, and over here is the supply line. So funny thing is, that kind of segues into our next topic, which is going to be weather. Yeah, so I was in the middle of this, and frankly I just got lazy when I realized that I had purchased the wrong size fuel hose. I bought 5/16. I thought my boat was 5/16, and for the fuel hose, and that was incorrect. It's 3/8. So I thought, shit, that was stupid. So now I have 25 feet of 5/16 hose if anybody wants it. But also, I didn't have the 3/8, and so there I was, kind of with all the connections ready to pull, and I had separated all the hose connections, and I had put tape over the openings in the tank to prevent any foreign material from getting in. And then I thought, well, it should be fine for 2 days. And then the weather really picked up in the last, honestly, just last night, it was really blowing. And I had mentioned the fact that I was a little nervous about doing this while I'm at anchor and it's still hurricane season. I hadn't thought much about cold fronts and the thought of disabling a diesel. I did have the jerry can of diesel standing by on hot standby, ready to, use as a backup fuel tank if I had to get underway. And I probably could have done something, but last night I did go to bed, well, try to go to bed, and I called it a day with the fuel hoses not connected, plugged and secured, and no dirt's getting in and all that, no air's getting in, so it was safe, I think. But then the weather really, really picked up, and then we had some issues here with the mooring balls. Let's get to that next. Okay, what we're looking at is two boats mooring in the middle of the night. And I hate to just be an observer, but I wasn't part of this, and I don't want to kind of fuck it up. So this boat, Salacia, was down on J8 or J7, and now I see that he's moored close to me, so I'm assuming he broke loose from his mooring. In the meantime, this guy here, he was from further down the row as well, and they're just picking up an empty mooring right now. So this mooring here, that was empty about 2 hours ago, and now we got a boat on it, and over there, I see another one. So I don't quite know what's going on, to be honest. This is what was going on. So first I'll tell you that the wind is coming from the left in this view. The small boat, the smaller boat in the foreground there, she broke loose from her mooring and she blew downwind and crashed into Salacia. You can see behind her. And she crashed into Salacia in such a way that the rudder or the keel on the smaller boat somehow fouled Salacia's mooring pennant. So the decision was made then to get Salacia off that mooring and move to another mooring. They helped Jim move to a new location, and now they're getting this guy sit on his anchor or his mooring. So I'm going, yeeks. And I had test run my engine, I swear, just an hour and a half ago, thinking, it feels like, it's really blowing out there. It's 20, 25 knots right now. And it kind of reminds me of, hurricanes, naturally, when you're worried about dragging anchor. And I just was kind of pensive and I couldn't sleep, so I thought I'm going to frickin' run my engine. And bear in mind, I've been in the middle of changing out fuel hoses, so my engine wasn't really 100% ready. It is now. And I'm going to do an engine test run real quick to make sure. But that's Celicia. She was one who got hit. And gloaming over here. This girl, that's the one that broke loose last night.
If you're going to go down that road.
Yeah, we're on the radio call talking about the event from last night. A lot of people are kind of frustrated because the wind speed was only like 20 to 25 last night.
Whoever threw out that petition idea.
It was only 20 to 25 knots last night, and a boat broke from its anchor. The mooring itself broke. Not good.
It's going to be blowing like this for the next couple days, and that's going to be mentally affecting all of us, kind of on edge and whatnot. And I think if we can start putting something in motion to at least, I don't know, have something, try our best anyways, that will be ideal. Anybody else want to throw something last minute on that?
Gypsy win.
Go ahead, Camelot.
Just for anyone inspecting their own mooring, take a look at your lines where they run through the thimble at the end of the mooring pennant. What had happened was the thimble had cracked. It was a nylon thimble, and it was flexing as the boat pulled on the mooring, and that flexing eventually started to eat through my my boat mooring line. And they did replace the pennant, and it's all shiny and new, but this is not something that you're going to see quickly. You can see it eating away if indeed there is a crack in the thimble on the pendant. So have a look if you can, and you might see some shaping on your own mooring line.
Yeah.
Hyder?
Go ahead, Hyder.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. The last one, can you tell me the boat name of that? And I just appreciate that info. That's good info right there.
That was from Camelot.
Wait and see.
Go ahead, wait and see.
Not to hog everything, but something I do about once a week is I go up front and I adjust my mooring lines and either let out a couple inches or take in a few inches.
Yep, I do that
just
too.
so the mooring lines, my mooring lines, aren't right in the exact same spot on the thimble, for months or years on end, because some folks, that contact point has been sitting there slowly chafing, for months or years, and then that's the weak spot. So do a little of your own due diligence and, take in or let out and kind of inspect your own lines too.
I do that
Gypsy
too.
win.
Go ahead, Gypsy Win.
So one thing I've been trying to do almost every day is to use a sextant and take noon sights. So I've been asked, what is a noon sight and how do you use this sextant to tell your position on the Earth? Well, be careful. This noon sight doesn't tell you your exact position on the Earth, and it's not in fact a noon sight. It's a local apparent noon sight. Noon sight. Let's say this is the Earth, this is the North Pole, and the Earth is tilted on its axis, so I'm going to hold it this way, and the brown line is the equator. And let's say I'm right here. Well, the question is, what is my latitude? And latitude means what is my distance above the equator. And that's all it means. And that's what we're looking for. Now let's go to the other side of the Earth for a moment, and let's talk about the sun. So I think everybody watching this knows that there's a Tropic of Capricorn and a Tropic of Cancer on the Earth, okay? And those lines are about 23 degrees north and 23 degrees south. And how do they occur? Well, they occur because the position on the Earth directly below the sun changes every day of the year. We'll start with the equator in the middle of March, and the sun's position will work its way further north above this point until it gets to when? Right, in the middle of summer, and then in the middle of June, like June 21-ish, then it's going to start a slow march south, and by December 21, it's going to be down here. Okay, so I think that makes sense, and right now, right now, at the time of the year we're at the moment, in November, we are right about here with the sun. The sun is above this position in the Earth right now, but we are someplace up north of the equator. And again, I'm going to be tilting the Earth and the sun's coming at an angle. So we need to know what our latitude is. And the only thing we can measure is the angle of the sun above the horizon. Now see, if we're like this, my horizon is like that. Okay, I can only see that far. I can only see 5 to 6 miles out in sea if I'm down at surface level. And I can measure, though, the angle between this horizon and what the sun is. Okay, and that's what I measure with the sextant. Okay, so let me see if I can try to explain this. And again, there are so many better sources than I am. I'm drawing my Earth at the proper angle. There's the equator. North Pole is up here, and my position is about here. Okay, and again, we want to know this angle. That's the question mark. Okay, if we know that angle, then we know our latitude. And we just measure, latitude is based on the number of degrees in the arc. And again, that's my position. This is the equator, marked by an E. And for the purposes of this video, and I think for simplification, we know that the sun's rays are approximately going to be in parallel to each other, whether it's the sun's ray that passes through the center of the Earth or the sun ray that passes through us. Now, you figure the fact that that's not so easy to measure now. So it's very difficult to just flat out measure this angle. There's no measurement that we can do by sitting on a boat bobbing around on the sea. But what we can do is we can measure the angle between our horizon, okay, and the sun. We can measure that. That's the purpose of the sextant. And we know that this is, of course, they call this the zenith distance, a point above us. So we know that these two angles together have to be 90 degrees because it's going to be a right angle every time. So what you do is, and we know that this distance is going to be equal to the angle between the declination of the sun plus our latitude. And that's the key. You've got two things, and you've got to do a little bit of math. And so what I need to know to do my calculation for this sighting is how far above or below the equator is the sun. And that has been tabulated. Okay, and it's tabulated. It's really pretty darn cool, I think, anyway. If you went to, say, September 23, you'll see a day when the declination of the sun is north one day and south the next, see? And you can see the days are continuing to get shorter. Starting from June, from the middle of June, the sun's declination is going down, 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 down every single day until it gets to its lowest point in December. And you can look and see December 22 and 23, and that's telling you. One day is 23 degrees and 26.2 degrees south, and the next day it's a little bit less south, 23, 26.1, and then 25.6, 24.5. So the sun is climbing back up. So if you look carefully down the sight, you'll see you're looking at half of it in blue and half of it in orange. The left half is fixed, and you look through there, and through the amber part, you're looking at the horizon, and you just hold this thing like this on the horizon. The blue half is adjustable. So, and that's adjustable, you can see. So this mirror, you're looking through here, reflecting off the mirror up to that mirror, and the angle of that mirror is changeable. And so you do that. You squeeze the triggers here, and you slowly adjust to get approximately where you want to be looking at. And for me, I knew it would be around 50 degrees, and then I just adjusted, to slowly bring the mirror up or down either way, such that the sun, the bottom diameter of the sun, was lined up with the horizon as you look through the eyepiece. I think it makes perfect sense. In the nuclear days, we used to say that you can't be an instructor unless you had absolute mastery of the subject. And I think for noon sights, I'm kind of there. But for overall celestial navigation, it's not me. And I also don't have the facilities to easily make good graphics and things like that. So I do apologize. The bottom line is, the only thing we can measure is the angle between our horizon and angle of the sun. Okay, that's what we can measure, and we can look up the angle of the sun is above or below the equator. That is a tabulated piece of data. And between those two bits of information, we calculate our latitude. And that's really what I think I'll leave it at for today. I am going to put in the description of the video some links to some really good videos on YouTube that some guys who really, they explain it very nicely like professional instructors would do. And they seem to know what they're doing, and their graphics are much, much, much better than what I can do with a grapefruit and scrap paper. Well, I'm going to go ahead and eat said grapefruit/earth, and I'm going to sign off and say goodbye and get this video posted today. So guys, it's currently November 5th. This is Russ. I'm on sailing vessel Tautog, and we are in Marathon's Boot Key Harbor, which is filling up quickly with a lot of folks, and I'm enjoying it here. The weather has gotten really, really nice, almost cold. I had hot tea this morning, so what a change from just a couple of weeks ago when I was just sweating profusely all day. So I'm a grateful, happy guy right now. So I'm going to go get to work this afternoon on the engine some more and replace more fuel hoses. But just a lucky guy, and it's a great environment down here. Just a couple days ago at our potluck dinner, I encountered some subscribers who recognized the ship as they came through, and so I'm really grateful to have met them. And just yesterday I bumped into Darrell. She's from South Africa, and she's a very, very experienced sailor. She's got more miles than I could even think about right now. You know, she and her and Tim were down in Mexico at the same time I was there, and along with David. So we've all stayed in touch, and it's just great to cross paths with other people of a like mind. So with that said, this is Happy Guy Russ signing off. Have a great day. Look forward to your comments. Appreciate it, guys. Bye-bye.